teach, and when you get, give. Welcome to Conversations with Verdel Jones. I'm your host, Verdel Jones. Being an educator at heart, I'm dedicated to sharing conversations that inform and enlighten in the hopes that you learn something you may not have known. We have a great show planned for you today. We're waiting for Felicia Fort to call in. She's going to be calling in and speaking with us about her book, The Mentor, nope, it's this side, The Mentor Model. So we're really excited for her to join the show. Before we get started, I want to let you know a couple of things. I want to thank our sponsor, Nancy Vargas Johnson. Nancy Vargas Johnson is a realtor and broker, associate broker, and she sells homes and within the Long Island area, Nassau County, Suffolk County. So if you're looking for a home to buy or you're looking to sell your home, make sure you reach out to Nancy Vargas Johnson. She is professional and just really a great person to work with. So make sure if you're in the market for those things that you check her out. So I'd like to thank Nancy. Just a couple of things. We had and I talked about it the last time that I was on the show, that we had an episode, and I talked about the Long Island Authors Showcase and Networking Seminar. That happened. It happened November 4th. We had an awesome time. We had 6 authors, actually 7 authors that participated, 6 books, and we had them participate in the event. So what I want to do is highlight the individuals that we actually had on the show. They had such great information to share. They got an opportunity to really tell about their book, tell about them, talk about themselves and all of the things that they were involved with. We've already had 2 guests on the show, Conversations with Verdel Jones show, and I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about them because they were on the show a few months ago, but I wanted to make sure that we were able to highlight them again. So the first one is Michelle Medina. Now, Michelle Medina, she wrote a book in reference to domestic violence, and we had her on the show a few months ago, and her story was so compelling. The name of the full title is When It's Time to Let Go, Taking Control of Abuse. And her presentation at the Author Showcase, just as it was when she was here on the show, was so compelling and inspirational. And she really, really tells a story of domestic abuse and what the signs were and how she was able to get out of this situation. It was, as I shared with her at the Author Showcase, I knew about domestic abuse as all of us do, but really getting the firsthand account of what she went through was an education for me and also our viewers as well. So if you have not picked up Michelle's book, When It's Time to Let Go, Taking Control of Abuse, I would encourage you to definitely, pick that up. The other authors that we had at the Author Showcase, or the other book that was highlighted at the Authors Showcase, is by Frances Carl and Denise Shepard. It's Footsteps of a Forgotten Soldier: The Life and Times of David Carl. And this book, I absolutely, I loved reading this, and the historical content that's in the book and the way that they frame it and all the research that went into developing this book really, it was such a great read. And one of the things that I want people to be aware of in reference to this book is it's about a Long Islander. So it's about someone local. I think it's their great grandfather, and he fought in the Civil War, and he fought for the Union, and he was a free black man who came from, he lived in Oyster Bay, Long Island, and they still own the land which, that he grew up on. And, so the story is fascinating. They were able to go back and trace, their roots. So, we're big fans of Lewis Gates, Dr. Lewis Gates, Finding Your Roots. And, those stories are always fascinating. We were just watching that last night. Jeremiah and I were watching I think it was Anna Navarro, I think is her name. It was Lopita, and I know I'm going to mess up the last name. So Lopita, and it also was who was the other person that we had that they focused on? Carmelo Anthony, and the stories or the way they're able to trace the history back of these individuals and like for centuries. And it was just so fascinating. Every time this show comes on, Jeremiah and I sit there like, little kids unwrapping, like we're unwrapping gifts because it's just fascinating. So this book really speaks to, David Carl and his journey, and they were really able to capture it. And it's not like a boring read. It's fascinating because the little details that they put in it was great, and it also is history about New York and history about the Civil War, and David Carl, was married a white woman. So here this free black man back in 1860s, fought in the Civil War. He was in an interracial relationship and married his wife, and it's just a fascinating, true story. So I'm really excited about, being able to have them participate. We had some other great authors that were there, and they're going to be coming to the show as well. Other thing I wanted to let you know is all of the authors that participated, I have all their contact information. We had a great program that we actually handed out to guests. So if we could just, there's a Deli Teach page, Deli Teach website. If we could just show that so people know where to go to actually, get the information. So you can go to deliteach.com and you can find out all of the information on the authors. If you click on that link, it's a PDF, and it opens up and it gives you all of a synopsis of the book, a little bio of the authors, and it also gives you their contact information, and more importantly, where you can actually purchase their book. I want to be able to support our authors. These are all independent, small publishing authors, and I really, really want to make sure that we support them. So you can check that out on my website. So I was just letting everybody know we have Felicia Fort. She's joining us. Felicia is an entrepreneur. She's an educator, mathematician, and the author of the book I was just talking about, The Mentor Model: Tools to Building and Sustaining a Healthy Mentor-Mentee Relationship Long Term. So I want to thank you, Felicia, first of all, for being part of the Author Showcase, and secondly, for being on the show tonight.
No, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Very good. I got a chance to, look at your book and read some of the information in there. And one of the things that, I wasn't aware of at the Author Showcase was your journey and your story and your testimony of why mentoring is such an important piece in a child's development.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you come to, or how did you know that you wanted to write a book about mentorship? Why was this the first book that you decided to write?
So this book, you always get ideas about books, or it just comes to your mind when you think about what you want to write about. But I was actually doing the work, and I was, showcasing it, spending most of my time with my mentees and my mentors. But like, if a lot of people followed me on Facebook or any social media platform, they always noticed that I always represented with my mentees and, gave like empowerment to mentorship and the influence of the importance of mentorship. I showed like different before and after pictures of my mentees and me. And so they kind of followed me, and they kind of known me for putting out something on mentorship. So when I actually like sat down and try to, listen to my thoughts and think about what will be, a first book, and it just came like it was something that I was already doing. So I can speak on it because I was actually doing it and still doing it, and seeing the transition of my mentees from then to now. Even when I look back on Facebook and they have the, the historical feeds showing you what happened that same day, but a different year.
Right.
Pictures of my mentees pop up, and I'm like, wow, it just reminds me of that. This is just not something I just wrote just to write. It was something that I was already doing, trying to stress and bring awareness to the point and the influence and benefit of what mentorship can do for a youth and an adult mentee, as well as what can it do for the mentor itself, because I've seen growth in me just, dealing with an 11-year-old and now they're 17, and, how that process in the middle,
Right.
it wasn't all smooth, but it taught me discipline. It taught me to, not just, remove myself if they're not following my strategies or if they're being disobedient to their parent, but stick in it and, see where it can go. And as I stuck in it, regardless if the mentee was not, being being obedient, but very remissive to, any type of advice I gave after they hit the teenage year, the more that I stuck into it, you see that now as they're 17, 18, it's now unfolding, and now they're getting it. And it's like, now they say, well, thank you for not giving up on me.
Right.
And I say, well, thank you for showing me an inner strength that I didn't know I had. So it is definitely something that I was already doing. So I was like, might as well, put it in words.
Right. So, where did mentorship actually begin, and where did we see it biblically and now? Like, what, we always throw the word out there, mentor, but what really is a mentor?
Yeah, so biblically, it's referenced throughout the Bible. I like how Jesus is known as a mentor because he had 12 disciples. You could say they was his mentees,
Right.
and he kind of led them to where they fit. Right, every disciple was not supposed to do the same thing. They were called to do a certain task, and Jesus led them to that task, or to find whatever he brought, whatever they had in them out of them. And none of the mentees had the same outcome. So that's exactly what a mentor is someone, you can have so many different mentees, but they're all not going to end on the same, track, right? They all have different paths. And your goal as a mentor is to bring it out of them.
Right.
And, Jesus never discouraged, right? He never gave up. And regardless if they was not following his to-dos, he still, taught. And he still said, he never blamed. And that's what I call in my book, I call it pro-sequences. Like we're not going to blame you for not listening to what we said or not listening to what your parents said, but we're going to, have you decide and have you bring it out what you believe you did wrong or what you could have done better. Or now that you decided to take that path and you see the result, what can you do differently now because you're still here?
Right.
So that's exactly what, biblically he did. He never said, don't do it that way. He just said, this is the way, but even if they weren't obedient, he never was dismissive. And so he kept doing what he had to do as a mentor to lead them to where they have to go, because our goal is to bring the best out of everyone, regardless of what age. So if they have a goal, when you meet a mentee, they should tell you what they want. Like they should tell you their overall, and if their overall plan, what they want to be or what their goal is, and then that's for you. If they don't know, like based off the age, then it's as a mentor, it's for you to bring it out of them.
Right.
And sometimes bringing it out of them is not just through words, but just taking them along the journey and allowing them to develop that way.
So, one of the things that you also, talk about in your book is that a mentor relationship. So the mentor is the person, helping and assisting, and the mentee is the one who is, getting that assistance or that help or that guidance. You say that it's a mutual relationship. It's a two-way street. There's a give and take. I guess my question to that would be, how do you kind of motivate, and if we're talking about youth, the unmotivatable or maybe that's a bad word. But if they're not motivated, how do you motivate them as a mentor?
Yeah, so remember, you're dealing with a stranger. They're a stranger to you and you're a stranger to them. So it's the process of building. And you can't expect people to just open up and be all motivated just because you say be motivated. That's
Right.
not how it's going to work.
Right.
But it takes time. Yes. The key word is time, but the other key word is consistency. Because a youth will open up to you if they see that you're here.
Right.
Like if they notice that, okay, well, they're not going nowhere. Because even for one of my mentees, it did take a while for them to open up and to see that I was serious and that I really cared. They want to hear that C word, that you care, and not only hear it words, but see
actions. Yeah.
And that's when they would then like just do a 360, like, oh my God, like, oh, I didn't even know you opened up. Now you're comfortable. And that's when you now go into the other phase. And then, but another way is to give yourself, right? They want to know that you're human.
Right.
And they want to know that, okay, just because you wear a business suit, depending on what type of mentor you are, or, what you like, how you like to dress. But I like to dress up, and I don't wear a lot of sneakers or whatever. So when they first see me, they like, oh, she thinks she bougie, she's not going to be relatable. Right. I don't care if she is black like me, but she's, she already high, and, she has everything. She probably never been through anything. But then when I take these shoes off, and then I tell them like where my background was, how, what my background was, and now they start to see I'm human, and how I failed math, and even though I'm a mathematician now, but I had an F before.
Wow.
Right, and then they start to open their eyes, like, oh my God, I have an F now too in math. It's hard, and then you start to become relatable, and that's when they start to be open, and because the first thing they see is your appearance, and you look like you're just this successful woman.
Right.
And then they want to know what's behind that success, because right now they don't see success when they go in the house.
Right.
And that depends on whatever student you're with. Even with students, mentees who have 2-parent households, right? Both parents work, both parents went to college, but they also experience the ability to be alone, right? They their parents are work parents, so they're busy. They don't really have time to, and time is relative, but the students can't really relate right away. So they want somebody who they can talk to often and share things without being, judged or punished. So it's not really about, relatable in that sense. Like you can then talk about, I grew up in a 5-sibling home, and, I wasn't always the center of attention also, or, things like that. And they would now see that you are human and that you are relatable. Some youth backgrounds are not trauma, right? Some youth came from great backgrounds. However, there's still an emptiness that they feel. So every youth, an adult, right? So some youth that come from 2-parent households, they feel the pressure of trying to exceed their parents' expectations.
Right.
And they deal with that. Like my father got a PhD, my mom got a PhD. They want me to get a PhD. I don't even like school right now.
Right.
And I got to make them happy.
What do I do?
And that's one of my mentees who I'm dealing with now. He's 18.
Wow.
And he's like, I don't want to go in that direction. And then it's like, what do you do then? Right? Because they have all these family members who are affluent, right? And wealthy, and they have it all down packed. But they can't relate to them,
right,
at this moment. So
it does take a special person to be a mentor, and there's a responsibility in that type of work. So I love in the book you give like a checklist pre-qualifier for somebody who might be thinking about being a mentor. And I like that. So what does it take for someone to actually be a mentor?
It takes realistic observation. So do you have time? Because in time, it doesn't mean they want you 24/7, but it does mean when the building stage finishes and now you're in the actual relationship stage, now they trust you, now they feel like they can tell you anything. they want to call you when times are rough or when times are, high and enjoyable. Like if they got their first college acceptance letter, and it's 11 o'clock at night, they want to call you, and they want to tell you right away. So it's like, will you have the time to pick up? Will you have the time to do that? And sometimes it's listening. All they want somebody to do really is to just be an earpiece
for them,
and not so much a mouthpiece. They just want to share things, and they want to. And parents always say, don't always listen to your peers, like your friends. So since they found a mentor who is quote unquote like a friend, but in another level, and they on a positive realm path, then it's like they want to tell somebody like that.
Right. And also throughout the book you talk there's testimonials about the people that you've worked with, the mentors, the mentees. Can you just share a little bit about that? Because I really did enjoy, hearing the testimonies, because, having that relationship, the mentor-mentee relationship, it's a very special relationship, and it takes a lot of work. So do you want to share some of the testimonials that individuals were able to put in the book as well?
Yeah, I had fun with that part, because you can't really connect with every youth or every adult mentee. So it's other mentors out there that have similar experiences or different experiences that, it always didn't start right, but they saw the beauty at the end, or they ended the relationship. Because I didn't want the book to seem like it's just this, amazing journey of a youth or adult mentee and a mentor who's just never had problems, and they always got the time, and they always got to listen to their ear, and they just give they're just very consistent, like they're perfect.
Right.
No. So there are some testimonies who, one, give a great observation of the mentorship experience amongst them, and how they have several mentees, and they, share different descriptions of each, and how they relate to her, and how it's different. So each relationship that she had with her mentees are all different. So that's one testimonial. Another testimonial said, "Oh my goodness, I couldn't stand, from a mentee's perspective, I couldn't stand my mentor. She was always busy. He was always busy. But then when he communicated to his mentor, and and shared and laid some boundaries. This is a mentee talking to a mentor, like, look, I thank you for volunteering your time, but I don't feel like you're giving me enough."
Wow. And
then once he set the boundaries and said, I really do like you, we do have a lot in common, but you're not available.
Right.
And that's when the mentor, and I always talk about switch roles in the book too. Like the mentor became the mentee at that point, because he was like, you know what, you're right, and I'm going to do better.
Right.
So he became obedient to what the mentee was requesting. So that's another testimonial. And then another testimony is of a youth who just wasn't receptive.
Yeah.
And, the mentee, she's explained her point of view, saying, I did want to mentor. My sister, invited me or introduced me to one of her friends, and she was in the same path that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be a nurse. She was already a nurse. But I was just at that point in my teenage years, I was just disobedient, running away from home. So I really wasn't consistent, and I really wasn't ready. So that relationship ended. Right. And I wasn't sad. Like she said, she wasn't sad, but she knows you have to be at a point where you agree as a mentee that this is, time for you, because the mentor reached out,
that's true.
Several times, but then the mentee didn't have no phone. She was dealing with life situations. And then she kind of just, removed herself. So it wasn't the mentee's fault at this, at this example. It was the mentee.
Right, right.
So just different perspectives. Sometimes the mentor can do all they can do.
Right.
But it's it's levels to it. If I can't reach them, then I also have time too. I can't waste my time in my life, to try to chase someone. Hopefully they'll reach out, and when they reach out, I'll be available. But if not, I'm going to continue to try to impact another youth or another adult mentee.
Right. I guess it's a point where, as a mentor, you really have to know, uh, sometimes, like you said, when it's time to maybe move on and be available for them, if
Hmm.
they do need you, but don't, and that's part of it. I think there's so much that goes into learning how to be a mentor. The relationships you build with your mentee. I love that you also talk about the parent involvement in this
Hmm.
relationship. I thought that was so key. I really never thought about that perspective and how parents, play a key role in in that relationship as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, how do if how do people find opportunities to mentor? So, say we have people out there that are interested in being a mentor. How does one go about finding opportunities? You hear about the Boys and Girls Club. There are some organizations, I guess, out there. But what are some ways people can, research this if they're interested in working with youth in particular?
Yeah, so it's several ways. Like you said, different mentorship organizations. So you can Google mentoring organizations in my area.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the key phrase that to look up something is saying mentorship or mentoring organization. Another way is just through, so with the mentoring organizations process, there's a training process, then there's
Right.
a vetting stage process. So
Mm-hmm.
if you do set up your youth there, you'll have a more, safer experience because these people
Have been
that
vetted.
you're now allowing your child to be mentored by are
Mm-hmm.
going through a vetting process and a
Right.
background check and things like that. So the organization is reliable just in case something goes a different way.
Right.
So that's a good way a good approach. However, the one side of going through organizations is that there's a term limit. So these
Mm.
mentors they sign a contract that says you have to give me 2 years. Like you have to give the mentee in the organization 2 years. Like you can't leave, you
Okay.
can't, do certain things, but you have to give us 2 years.
Make a
So once
commitment.
that 2 years is up, they can leave if they want to,
Okay.
right? Because they gave 2 years of commitment.
Right.
Now, if they're, staying in an area, then they can now be a mentor outside of the mentoring organization and still mentor your youth.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, they only have it. You can't blame them if they leave because they only signed up for 2
For
years.
2 years, right.
And some mentees who are starting out, they are in school, and once 2 years is up, they graduate and then they leave or move or go to a place that offered them a job in another state or country.
Right.
However, there's now technology, and that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean they're going to end the relationship, but it will
Mm-hmm.
be virtual if they decide to keep it.
Right. There's
Now,
different
on
ways.
another side, there's just an informal mentoring process where if you see
Mm.
adult youth, adult mentor or adult person who's doing well, or you connected with them through work or through church
Mm-hmm.
or through any other passing by, in a community realm, like
Mm-hmm.
they're doing something, then you can always ask them.
Right.
And just because you observe them, however, you don't have the background checks, you don't know any
Right.
background
Right.
history, so that's kind of like. But if you vet them yourself and you feel like they are good, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can introduce them to your child. But going through the organization is more safer a
Is
little
safe,
bit
right?
because the organization is
Has
liable.
been vetted. So, one of the things, because I know that you're short on time, but I wanted to make sure that everyone also knows that you're an entrepreneur, and you have an organization, you have a company called One Step Closer. What is One Step Closer, and what are some of the things that you do?
Yeah, One Step Closer is a 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
It is an entity funneled out of the for-profit organization called One Step Closer Finding the Fun in Math, which is a tutoring organization.
Okay.
So we tutor all ages, all levels to find the fun and fascination in mathematics.
Right.
And I say that with a smile because it's a beautiful thing. But the proceeds for the 5 years that we've been in business have been funneled to the nonprofit side, and we created five programs for youth and young adults.
Okay.
So we created a summer employment program called
nice.
One Step Closer summer externship program where we have apprentices ages 14 to 17 years old, which is 9th through 11th graders in DC based, work for corporate organizations for 4 weeks, and they earn a stipend, compensated stipend. They earn enrichment skills, and they earn community service hours throughout the 4 weeks. So they're giving back as well as learning, as well as enhancing their resume for a competitive level. And the reason why I chose that age group is because that age group is really not focused on a lot. Like even with the National Summer Youth Program, it goes up to age 24.
Okay.
And most of those college students are the ones getting the jobs a lot.
Okay.
However, in DC, there is a short period of time where you can apply for the National Summer Youth. And the cutoff, people miss it, like, because it's like 2 weeks open enrollment, and then if you miss that date,
that's it.
As a youth, you're out
for
the whole summer. So I try to also connect with the summer youth people, the organization, and try to get the people who were waitlisted or who just couldn't apply in time.
Got it.
And so I try to give them a benefit. But this program was funneled through the proceeds of our tutoring organization. We have yet to do grants, but we will now start that.
Absolutely.
But we did do like a funnel of GoFundMe and things like that. But the majority of the money do come from tutoring.
Okay.
And then another program we have is the summer, that's the summer externship. Then we have the college care package. These are for high school students going into college and college freshmen and sophomores. We give them a care package of not food or oodles and noodles. We really, I'm so involved in leadership, and I really like that because that's what I learned when I was in college. So we give planners, we give resume paper, we give business card holder. We make them business cards, and we do some things for the dorm, like bed risers. But we don't put oodles and noodles in there and stuff like that. We do flash drive, things like that can, prepare them for, their first interview or stuff like that.
Right.
And we also give them recorders. Right, when you're in college, you need a recorder, or to also record yourself as you're answering interview questions, so you can replay. Even though your phone has it, we also like to do the recorder. Right. And another program that we have is the college tour for high school students. So we do college. So we partner with Suited for Success is an organization in Maryland, and we partner with them to take youth high school students to different colleges on up and down the East Coast.
Nice.
So we've been doing that. And then we have the Fort Book Scholarship Program. Fort is my last name. So I wanted to give myself a legacy for my family.
Nice.
So for 5 years, we've been doing book scholarships for anybody who want to buy math books, who need math help. So everything is, there's a math component in each of these programs. You don't have to be a math major, but you have to do something in math. So you have to take a math class if you want a math book, if you want money for a textbook. You have to, be in some type of STEM, or at least desire it or write about it or something. Or overcome a time that you overcame an obstacle in math, but you still went through it. You didn't give up. Like, I like stories like that because it shows initiative and it shows the progress. I know everybody don't like math, and I know it's a scary thing for a lot of people, but I just want to see that you tried. And you didn't just pick major in art to avoid math. Right. But those are the programs that we have. And this year we made 5 years old, so we gave away $10,000 in scholarships.
Oh, my goodness.
And we partnered with another organization to give some of their students some scholarships. But we held it at Temple University this past June when we made 5 years old. So we gave out $10,000 in scholarships, and I was really excited. That's awesome. One step closer.
So how can, a couple of things. How can people buy your book? That's number one. And how can people find out more about the work that you're doing? I mean, One Step Closer sounds like a great organization that really, really supports and helps our kids. And I just love all the things that you mentioned, especially the internship and giving them business cards and leadership skills and tying in math to that. So how can people get in touch with you and be able to purchase your book as well?
Yay! So I love that. Well, you can find our book on Amazon. So you
Mm-hmm.
could just go to Amazon and type in the mentor model,
Mm-hmm.
and then the book will pop up.
Mm-hmm.
Yay! And it's also on my website, which is also the website to One Step Closer. So this is
Mm-hmm.
the hub for everything you need to know. So www.onestepcloser2.com.
Okay.
And you go to the book page, and that's the book, but each page shows thing about everything about the organization,
Right.
but that particular book page is where you can purchase the book.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has different platforms of where the book is located, and we're also trying to prayerfully get it in Barnes and Noble. That's a
Okay.
process, but we have been pushing it.
Nice.
But right now it's on Amazon and on my website.
And another thing you do, you have a workshop series. You
Yeah.
participated in the author showcase. You're a dynamic speaker, engaging. How do you do presentations? I know you have a workshop series. So what does that look like, and how can people contact you for those services as well?
Yeah. So the workshop series is basically these organizations, these mentor organizations, they bring the mentor in, they bring the youth in, but
Mm-hmm.
now how do you sustain that relationship and how do you
Right.
keep it going and how do you
Exactly.
keep it active?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the workshop series of it's for the mentor and the mentee
Okay.
to come together, and it helps you strengthen your relationship, bring different creative ideas to your relationship, make a plan for your relationship, and continue to build it from that part. And we discuss in groups on different things about ideas or the process of one mentor relationship versus another,
Mm.
and what are some strategies that they use to get their mentee or their mentor to open. Sometimes the mentor don't open right away either,
Right.
and so we try to break those cycles and break the stereotypes and things like that. But we really want to sustain our relationships because the need for mentors is really high in all of these organizations,
Yes, it
even
is.
in youth that are not even in the organization. So people, just youth in the community,
In
they don't have
general.
any role model to look up to. And, having a mentor, the success rate and the statistics of just having a mentor versus a
Mm-hmm.
youth who doesn't have a mentor, especially if they're in a lower, underserved experience or situation, the
Mm.
one with the mentor has a 50% chance rate of succeeding.
Right.
Not even 50%. It's high. It's like
Mm-hmm.
98. But they're more likely to go to college and finish,
Right.
go to high school and finish, be
Mm-hmm.
the first generation of students,
Right.
to do different things versus one who didn't. So mentorship is very important. So I do workshops for mentor organizations to help sustain your
Okay.
mentors and mentees. And you can find that by just emailing me at ffort@onestepcloser2.com.
Mm-hmm.
We also have, every January is National Mentor Month. So
Okay.
we're doing a mentor mentee brunch. We pushed it from December to January
Mm-hmm.
since January is mentorship month. So we're going to be doing different events, and there's a lot of mentor organizations that are doing things in that month. So I'm trying to be at their conferences and,
Right.
have my book there, or even, just volunteer, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to start there. So
That's right.
I'm going to be in those different halls to connect with those people as well.
Great. So, Felicia, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening. Again, I just enjoy your presentation, your delivery, and sharing, what you've learned through this process, and the fact that you have this all in a book that people can purchase and help their organizations. You have a lot of different organizations that have a mentoring component to it. This is such a great guide to really help them, as you say, sustain and keep those relationships going long term. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much. I am so happy that we got a chance to do this.
Yes, absolutely. So take care. Great speaker, excellent speaker, and her book is really a great guide to getting you through that process. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that you can see past conversations with Verdel Jones shows on my YouTube channel, which is Deli Teach, and that's Liteach, so you can see all of the past episodes that we've had. I also like to take the opportunity to once again to thank Nancy Vargas Johnson. If you are looking for a home or you're selling a home, make sure that you contact Nancy within the Long Island area. So again, I want to thank everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time.